Good evening and welcome to the first educational video from the Lafayette Club. I am Scott Bremer, standing next to Vince Martz, our Executive Sous Chef, and he is going to demonstrate how to break down a tenderloin that you may have purchased through the butcher shop, and he's going to show you how to cook a meal here, and so enjoy.
Thank you, Mr. Bremer. Again, my name is Vincent Martz. I am the Executive Sous Chef here at the Lafayette Club. And as Scott said, today I'm going to break down what we call a PSMO. There is some common misconception that I've heard over the past couple of weeks while delivering butcher shop orders to our members outside, in that a lot of people weren't sure that we actually did the butchering here at the club. Now, we do not butcher the whole cow here. We get in meats that are called subprimals. This is a roast off of a larger piece, which is called a primal, and this is called a PSMO, PSMO. That means peeled side muscle on. Now, what's peeled is a large fat cap that sits over the top. We have no use for that as we don't render any of our fats down currently. So this is what you could find in a store. I would sell this to you in our butcher shop, and I'm going to show you exactly how to take it down from the very start. What you want to do is take the fat end. There are two distinct ends to this, the big fat end, and you want to have that on the bottom side. You want to take your sharp boning knife and cut right across the top. This will allow the wet aging juices, which is essentially blood, to drip down into this very bottom pocket here. From either side, you make a slit very carefully up, and you pull the tenderloin out of the package and discard the packaging. Now, very important. One thing you may notice is the color of our cutting board. You also may notice that I'm not wearing gloves. That's because gloves aren't necessary when you're cutting meats. The gloves are only necessary when you're producing ready-to-eat foods, like sandwiches or lettuce or anything that's already in its primal state. So here's what we're going to do. There are three sections to a tenderloin. One, of course, is called the tenderloin. The other is called the head. And we'll get to this in a little bit. I'm just naming these sections right now. And the other is the chain. So the chain, the head, and the tenderloin need to be separated, and you do that with your fingers. You can really get a lot of that connective tissue and silver skin peeled away. Very strangely, this tenderloin does not have a chain. So we're going to work with what we have. The chain would normally be connected right here, and it's a mixture of about 20% meat and 80% fat and connective tissue. So what we're going to do is we're slowly with our fingers going to start peeling away the fat and the inedible connective tissue. And I should say that it is edible, you just probably don't want to eat it because of the texture. Normally with the chain we save for grinding, and we make some of our menu items with the ground beef. We had the meatloaf on the menu that we use quite a bit of that ground beef for. All right, and once you get to the point where you can't take any of this away with your fingers, you can get the knife in there. And you just sort of very slowly, very carefully take away the fat. You don't want to lose any of the meat because it's pretty expensive. And you want to utilize everything on a beautiful cut of meat like this. All right, we're going to cut about the last 2 inches off. And we're going to set that aside for grinding. We're going to turn it around. And we're going to start taking the head off. And we're going to do that by peeling away this very thin membrane. You can feel it and hear it rip. And then we're going to follow the angle of the tenderloin itself. And this will come into play when we're cutting steaks. You want to have that nice round shape in here. That way you can get a good 7 or 8 ounce portion out of it. And there's a little bit of silver skin at the top here too that you're going to want to trim away. And that'll help even things out. There we go. That's called the head. We're going to save that. And I'll show you in a little bit what we can do with that. You can actually get another steak out of that end piece, and it's just as good as any of the other pieces that we're going to get out of this today. All right, we're gonna trim a little bit. You can see it's kind of a floppy piece here that is gonna be good for what we would call tornadoes. You get about 1 or 2, depending on the size of the Pismo, of those 4-ounce portions on either end out of each piece. And you can make a dish called tornadoes of beef, which actually is on our banquet menu. So what we need to do next is take the silver skin off. Now this is a very ugly tenderloin. I'll be very honest with you. I maybe did not pick the best one for this demonstration, but that's okay. We always work with what we have, and that's what we're doing today. The other end, again, we're going to cut off at 2 inches, including that silver skin. We're going to save that for grinding. And we're going to start slowly getting under that silver skin on the final inch. Now you're going to lose a little bit of tenderloin in this process. This is about the only place where you're going to have any actual loss. So now that we have the the silver skin peeled away from the actual meat, you can see right here the loss that we're going to have. I like to flip it upside down. There's a number of ways to get the tenderloin off, the silver skin. One of them is mechanically, but we don't have that machine. One of them is from the top, and you just very slowly slice along the top a few times. But I like to do it the same way I take the skin off of a salmon or a fish. I press down, really get my nails into that silver skin. And I bend that knife, and I make real good progress here. And I try to grab it, and I pull away, and I keep moving until I get to the point where you can feel the knife let go. And look at that. This is incredible for our yield, and yield is the most important thing when you're dealing with a tenderloin, because this piece you cannot break down, pigs cannot break down, so this goes in the garbage. We're losing about 1/4 ounce of meat there, which is tolerable. And we're left with a nice, clean Pismo. And all we're left with is picking away at these sort of sinewy, fat bits, which can all be put into the grind. All right. A little bit more silver skin on the end here. Again, this is a very oddly shaped tenderloin. And what we're going to do today is get a roast out of it. What we would normally do when we're cutting your butcher shop orders is take this strip. This is where it connects to the cow on the inside of the ribs, and sort of just rests against the ribs. So we would normally just take that off a little bit up until the very end, basically, because if we don't, we're going to have steaks that have wings. You get all that fat off of there. All renderable, all edible. Not that. And this is, again, sort of just a wing. All right, here's a tornado right here. About 4 ounces of beef. Beautiful tenderloin. And what we're doing, as I said, is we're making a roast in a searing pan. Tenderloin by itself, to be honest, doesn't have that much flavor. So I do leave some of this fat on, especially right here. This is a good example of where the flavor is going to come from in all of this. So I'm going to cut off about an 8-ounce steak. We ball it up, make it look pretty, set that aside. For the purposes of today's demonstration, I'm going to do a roast, as I said. We're going to do about 1 pound. And that's right there. And here's our other tornado. Right there. And this is all for grinding. Now this, as I said before, is the head The head is full of connective tissue and silver skin. Silver skin you want to discard. You don't want to keep all the connective tissue and all the fat, because if you have a burger or a meatloaf that's 70% fat, it's not going to cook properly. It's going to start your grill on fire and it's just going to fall apart. So I usually cut off the very end of both sides, and I look around for any excessive tissue, silver skin, and I get rid of it. Again, it's our job to make this in the proper shape of a steak. That's about 9 ounces right there, and we're looking for about an 8-ounce steak. So what we're going to do is we're going to chop up the bits and ends, and this will be for pasta night. These little bits and pieces. Voila. So this is a very small tenderloin. This would be roughly 2 more 8-ounce steaks, and we would get 4 8-ounce steaks and 2 4-ounce tornadoes. And that's a good yield on a very small tenderloin. On a full tenderloin, I would expect to get 6, possibly 7 to 8-ounce steaks. There you have it. This is our beautiful 16, 17-ounce tenderloin roast that we're going to cook today. So, if you have any questions, please comment down below. I'll be available 1 hour after this video goes live to answer any questions you might have. If you're looking for any help with what the difference is between silver skin and cartilage or fat, I can answer all those questions for you. So, at this time, I'm going to bring this roast over here to my other red cutting board. I'm going to wash my hands and we're going to start getting to work on an actual meal. So come on over. Now when you're washing your hands, you want to use the hottest water you possibly can. Now we all know with these times with the coronavirus how important hand washing is. And heat, direct hot water, soap will kill viruses and bacteria and all the things that can harm us. So, wash my hands. I'm going to take off my apron because we use that to butcher meat. I'm going to leave that back over here. We're going to get to town. So the ingredients that we have here. We have some cold butter, some asparagus, some thyme, rosemary, some baby carrots, garlic, olive oil, salt, pepper, and a beautiful roast. So, what we're going to do, first things first, we got the heat on. We're going to put our nice steel pan directly on that heat. Now, high heat on here is going to be a little different than your high heat at home. So be mindful. You want it at about a medium-high heat for searing tenderloin. We're going to do this. Salt. Very healthy portion of salt. Pepper. You really want to get it in there. Don't be afraid to over salt and over pepper because we're going to lose a lot of this in the cooking process. Roll it around. Smash it in there. Oh. Look at all that flavor. Get it on the ends. It's so important to get as much as you can in there. It's also kind of important to do this having had the roast out at room temperature for a while. This will help the total cooking process, total cooking time. Our oven is preheated at 350 degrees. And we have a convection oven, so things are going to move a little quicker in there. Again, you want to be mindful at home of the temperature for your beef. I want to take my beef out at about 120 degrees, and that'll allow it to cook a little bit longer. Now you see the smoke coming off of this. The smoke point of olive oil is about 400 degrees, so we know for sure we've got a really good searing temperature going on right now. And what we want to do is take garlic. If you have shallots or onions at home, you can put those in here as well. Just get the garlic crushed and get it in there just to release the aromatics into the oil. Now, burnt garlic will taste a little bitter, so we're not dicing this or slicing this into smaller chunks. We want to be able to get the flavor, but not that bitterness. So we'll probably take the garlic out after a little bit. All right. Beautiful. Take the tenderloin. Fat side, if you have one, down. Oh yeah. And while that's going, we're going to do a couple things here. We've got some Frenched baby carrots and some asparagus. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, are familiar with how to cook asparagus, but I'm just going to show you here. The basic principle is that you bend it, and wherever it snaps is where you want to cut it off. And then you can pretty much do that with the rest of them. I'm going to go a little bit longer here. And then this is all discarded. All right, we're going to turn our tenderloin here. I would recommend using tongs, of course. We're going to throw in a little rosemary, thyme. You hear that popping, it's a beautiful noise. We're going to cut our carrots in half, the long way. There we go. Alright, and we're going to get the end here real quick. One of the most important things about doing this is being prepared. And I'm not all the way prepared. I forgot one very important thing, and that's a spoon. So, here's the cold butter I'm throwing in there. We're going to turn the heat down a little bit. We're going to get that butter infused with that garlic, thyme, rosemary. I'll be back in 2 shakes. I got spoons right here. And I'm back. So, I'm going to tilt the pan back just a little bit. And we're going to baste our roast in this beautiful herbed, garlicky brown butter. Now we're not going to cook it, of course, all the way in the pan. This is going to go in the oven. We're going to put it on top of these herbs and the garlic, so it doesn't have any real contact with the hot pan. We want the oven to do the cooking. We want those flavors to be all over this meat. So, before we go anywhere, we're going to take this other pan and we're going to steal some of that liquid. Now this is going to go into the oven. Not really, of course we've done this ahead of time and we have one ready for you. We're going to start cooking the carrots in a different pan. So in this case we're going to salt the actual pan. A little butter. We're going to put the carrots in there for just a couple minutes. to get them some flavor. Now we're using all the same flavor profile for all of these items, whether it be the steak, the carrots, or the asparagus. So they're all going to sort of taste like garlic and butter, rosemary, and thyme, but they're each going to have their own unique flavor as well. Of course, asparagus has its own wonderful earthy flavor, and carrots are going to have sort of a sweetness to them that will complement the dish quite nicely. You want to move them around a little bit. Don't be afraid to baste them, but it's really not necessary. I just like to do it. And you can even, if you're very skilled, you can give it a little toss. You can see that butter really going to town right now. So what we're going to do, if you want to pan over here with me just a little bit, we're going to take these carrots and we're going to throw them in a pan with our roast. And that's going to go in the oven now for about 7 more minutes. We've been doing this for about 3 minutes, and then we got this pan here now ready to go for a pan-seared asparagus. They don't have to face the same direction, that's just me. A little more salt. Very high heat. Take that down just a little bit. And a little more butter. Alright, so while that's going on, I'm going to show you what we had done earlier. Now this is all in the same pan because that's just the way I had it planned out. So what we'll do is we'll set our roast there. We'll take our carrots and just set them out here, family style. And our asparagus. Some of that oil off of there. If it's too much oil for you, that's fine. You can just give them a quick pat down. Or, like me, you can give it a quick cover up. And depending on how many people you have, all you have to do is give it a slice. And we've got a beautiful medium rare tenderloin. You take the front piece and you put it in back. Voila. You have yourself a beautiful tenderloin dinner. I hope I was able to show you how simple this can be. You don't need to be an expert to cook this stuff, but it does help to have some experience, and that's what I'm hoping to impart on you today, is that very simple ingredients can lead to a very beautiful meal in no time. As I said, this took us from the breakdown maybe 20 minutes. That's pretty good. Again, my name is Vincent Mertz. I'm the Executive Sous Chef here at the Lafayette Club. I hope everybody out there is doing well. I know this can be a stressful time for some people, but I also wanted you to know that we are here. We're working, and we're working toward getting back up and running, and we'll keep you posted on that. So, again, if you have any questions or need any guidance in any of this, please reach out through the comment section. I'll be available for 1 hour after this video goes live. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.